So here's the Daya doctrine coming from Tim Langman. He writes about it, and he talks about how it is the name given to Israel's current military doctrine, which is being used in Gaza. It's a military strategy. This is coming from Wikipedia, which, as I always like to point out, if you're learning from something from Wikipedia, you're reading the liberal version of it, the kind of whitewashed, U.S. is not that bad, kind of liberalized version of history. But so when something like this gets into Wikipedia, it means it definitely is a thing. Like when you hear about awful things that the U.S. or Israel has done and they're in Wikipedia, that means there's really no denying it, because even in the liberal view of history, it's in there. So it's a military strategy of asymmetric warfare outlined by former Israel Defense Forces Chief of General Staff Gadi Eisenkot, which encompasses the destruction of the civilian infrastructure of regimes deemed to be hostile as a measure calculated to create civilian suffering to pressure combatants, and endorses the employment of disproportionate force to secure that end. So it is the plan of civilian suffering. We are told over and over again, both by Israel and by the U.S. media and by the U.S. government, that Israel is just fighting Hamas, and civilian suffering outside of that is collateral damage. Oopsie, we had to do it in order to fight the Hamas, to fight Hamas, but that's not the case. This is the plan. This is the aim. Civilian suffering is the goal. And I've brought you other evidence of that in previous live streams recently, but it is a calculated level of civilian suffering. Maybe they put it into their AI program. Maybe their chatbot tells them how to create civilian suffering. The doctrine is named after the Daya neighborhood of Beirut, where Hezbollah was headquartered during the 2006 Lebanon war, which was heavily damaged by the IDF. Daya was the Shia quarter in Beirut that was raised by the Israeli Air Force during the 2006 Lebanon war. So it was the Shia quarter in Beirut that they just flattened, that they just turned into a parking lot. Naftali Bennett told Haaretz is a well-known newspaper, in March 2017, in an interview, the Lebanese institutions, its infrastructure, airports, power stations, traffic junctions, Lebanese army bases, they should all be, this is a quote, legitimate targets if a war breaks out. Everything of the society you should be able to destroy, no matter how many civilians you kill. So it continues. That's what we should already be saying to them and the world now. If Hezbollah fires missiles at the Israeli home front, this will mean sending Lebanon back to the Middle Ages. He claimed that this strategy would speed up international intervention and shorten the campaign. But of course, there's not any proof of that. Generally, when you really harm a society like this, you actually just radicalize more people. You actually just take the remaining people who've lost their families and lost children and lost wives and husbands. You take them and make them willing to just destroy and do everything they can to try and fight, because that is how we respond when our family is murdered, when we see family and friends murdered like this, is many people respond with violence, respond with whatever ability they have. So the idea that this shortens the conflict is bullshit. And so they are going by a doctrine that says, if you are attacked, destroy the society. Now, something else that is really important here is there were moments of this in World War II, right? There were moments, the Dresden firebombing and the atomic bomb dropping, just to name the stuff that the U.S. and Britain did, not even to get into what Germany and the Nazis did, which, of course, the Holocaust in general is a deciding that we're, quote unquote, at war with a people, the Jews, and deciding to just murder them all. Man, woman, and child doesn't matter. And that was a genocide. And we now very much, it'd be tough to find, other than a white supremacist, someone who does not define that as a genocide. So other than the most vocal white supremacists, honestly. So this, after World War II, there were several international laws passed to try and make that not happen again. Make it a war crime. If two countries are battling each other, you cannot just obliterate civilians that are not fighting that war. You cannot just bomb hospitals and schools. You cannot just kill innocent civilians. All of that was made illegal by international law so that we as humans would behave a little more like we gave a shit about each other's humanity. A little more like that. That was the aim of these international laws, the Geneva Conventions, etc. And Israel is not only breaking all of those laws, but they have doctrines that they're going by where they say they get to break those laws. They get to violate these international laws. They get to behave as barbarians and sociopaths as they murder children on a wide scale basis, on a large scale basis. It really is horrifying, but you know, these doctrines, how it is Israel's deciding to do what they're doing are really important, and not many people are talking about them. They're not really, the mainstream media won't discuss them because they really do. This one and the Hannibal Directive, they really do upend what your mainstream media is telling you, or what Israel and U.S. government, et cetera, are telling you. They're telling you Israel's doing their damnedest to protect civilians in this thing. But you know, by the doctrines they're following that it's not an accident that they're killing all these. It is the aim. It is the goal.